Welcome to Bullish and Beyond. It's Beery the Bull. I'm your AI co-host. Join myself, Brian the MacMan, and JT Knows Things while we dive deep into the world of stocks, crypto, and how to live a bullish life. It's time to get bullish, and there's no better place to start than right here. Let's dive in.
Hey everyone, we're back with Bullish and Beyond. And today we have a special guest, Anmol. He is a trader like no other. He's been trading from back in his dorm days. He's been growing it to new heights. Now he's got a mastermind of traders. He's got a book he can give to everyone after this. Super excited to have Anmol on the podcast. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to chatting with you guys.
So I know you're a professional trader. We got some green going on in JT's den today. The market has not been a lot of green though. It's been really choppy. So I'm wondering how you guys are doing out there with all your trading.
Yeah, go ahead, JD.
I'm green because last week 2 weeks ago when I was on the cast, we were down to I think 81. So after Liberation Day, Bitcoin miraculously has held and is actually doing kind of decent, which is
It's held better than anything else in the market, seemingly.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm a professional. I do this full time. So I'm personally shocked, but at the same time, it trades like the Nasdaq some days, and other days it trades like gold. I think it all honestly tracks global liquidity, which is why I'm such a macro guy. And M2 is, it's picking up again. People are printing money. Not America yet, but elsewhere they are. So I think we're seeing a lot of global, currencies being poured into it as a risk-off asset. In America, we don't see it as risk-off, but in a country where you can't trust the entity with your gold shares, as an example, or you don't trust the government with gold, Bitcoin's a great option. And I think we see a lot of these countries in that situation. They see Bitcoin.
Well, speaking of gold, gold's popping.
I think that makes sense. I'm shocked. That gold peaked. What it hit 3,300. So,
What are you trading these days, Anmol? What should we get bullish about?
Honestly, right now, I've been in that the short-term mode because I think for me, find it much easier to predict what things are going to be like next 2-3 days. But then figuring out where things are going to be a week from now in this environment has been very challenging. I started year off really well, like January, February, March, crushing it, top of the world, and then comes April.
We felt great.
Yeah. And then we look at April and I'm like, what's happening? I got a bunch of swing trades stopped out. But I was like, you know what? It's part of the game. But I think for long term, there's some opportunities setting up for stocks, right? I was watching UPS, which I bought, and then Nike I'm looking at too. Nike's been at a pretty good level down at the 200-period moving average on the monthly charts. So I think some of those stocks I'm looking to pick back up. And obviously Tesla is one that I still hold. That's kind of the biggest holding that I have at the moment. And I think we'll see
Tesla long term, so solid.
Yeah, totally.
There's a lot of haters out there on Elon Musk and Tesla. It doesn't matter what you think of him. He's developing products and industries that no one else can compete in. SpaceX has no competitor, basically. It's like they're at a whole new level.
Yeah, because if you think about the future and you think about, okay, if I want to be involved in robotics, let's say, if I want to be involved in AI, if I want to be involved in full self-driving, if I want to be involved in energy, what else can you buy where you can get an exposure to literally all of those industries?
That's all the industries rolled up.
If you're going to not have that in your portfolio, then it's like, okay, what else will give you that exposure? Because these things have the potential to disrupt a lot of the existing models of how business is done, how work is being done.
You speaking about all those industries coming together, I wonder, we're seeing companies like Google today try and get broken up by the government saying they have monopoly. I wonder if Tesla in the issue will have a future saying, hey, you can't own energy and full self-driving and infrastructure all in one. They might try to break them up.
Yeah, but I think the spinoff will actually unlock more value for investors, right? Because they're actually probably worth more separately than they are together.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people still think Tesla, car company. If you actually break them up, they're more valuable separately, in my opinion. So I think
that is an issue with the valuation. I do think that people only think the car and they don't see the. There's oh, it's a tech company, but no, wait, it's actually way more. What if they hold the most energy storage in 10 years from now as any other company in the world? That totally could happen.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I'm excited
thinking of Tesla as almost like an ETF for the future. Like if you wanted to go long
Wow.
on tech, just thinking about buying Tesla because they are attacking all of those industries. I never really looked at them that way. There's a lot of none of it's diverse in the sense that it's tied to Elon Musk's and his Tesla brand, but yeah, the actual things they're researching and building and all of that stuff, it is very like science fiction.
Hmm.
And that guy's a straight genius. Watching those robots at his product reveal was really neat.
Optimus,
Even if
baby.
they were, yeah, even if they were like controlled by a dude because they're not, ready yet. It's just a
Still.
wild, bewildering thing to see because they were fully interaction.
I will
It's
say, though,
wild.
the robots I've seen in China are really impressive. There's a lot of bots out there doing breakdance moves that I have not seen American robots do yet. So I don't know if their actuators or joints are better off in these robots or
Right.
what's going on. But I also don't know if the Chinese people are controlling them with remote controls or they're using their own AI. It's too hard to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could have one of those suits on, like for
It
movies.
could be a human in the suit.
There's some, yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
crazy dude just break dancing with it,
Yeah, there's like a
Um,
warehouse full of people just like controlling all these robots. But it's
yeah,
like, but do you trust one of those in your house? That's the question, right? I mean, Tesla robot,
right.
yeah, I could trust it in my house, but do you trust a Chinese robot in your house? You're sleeping. What happens? So what happens then? What's the robot?
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
trust
I don't
issue
know
with
about it.
technology is tough.
Yeah.
I mean,
iRobot.
I don't trust DeepSeek. I'm not going to use Chinese AI necessarily. I know you can install it locally and use it. I get that's a thing. But just in general, if you don't know where your data is going, especially to foreign countries, that doesn't seem like a win-win for me.
No.
Do you trade stocks outside the U.S. or stick with U.S. stocks? What do you do?
Just U.S. stocks, U.S. options, and some crypto, but yeah, not really outside the U.S. I used to do that. I used to trade forex currencies and stuff in the past, but like with
Okay.
my kind of personality, was not a good thing because I have an addictive personality, so I'd literally be there all day.
You couldn't go to sleep.
Yeah,
No, there's no
yeah,
sleep. Oh, China, England's open now. All right, it's closed.
Yeah, Shanghai, let's go.
It was a mess. That's when I broke up because it was just like no time. I'll be doing trading, so I had to kind of see, okay, where's the bulk of the money coming from, and let's just focus on that and all the other stuff on the side. If it's not bringing in the time, in the ratio is time value, then focus on what's
Yeah.
bringing the money.
How much time do you spend researching and how much time do you spend kind of executing on your trading?
So not a lot of time researching, to be honest, because my trading is based on technicals, right? So it's not really fundamental based. Like Tesla
Okay.
have that fundamental bias, but then the entries and the exits are all defined based on charts. So that doesn't
Okay.
take that much time. But I am on my desk every day from at least 8:45 till like 12 p.m. And then rest of the day I'll just kind of monitor the positions that I have open just to see where they're at if I need
Yeah.
anything.
Well, let's talk about Tesla as an entry point because I'm intrigued by Tesla, but it's hard to recommend right now just because Elon is getting attacked so much by people. JT says he's attacking the industries. Well, the industries are attacking him as well. It seems like the entire world is just anti-Elon, messaging at the moment. So how do we use technicals to get into a stock like that?
Yeah, I think again, looking at pullbacks and looking at like support and resistance levels, because if after the election we got the run up, right? Stock went to like 470. Now, obviously, that's not the right time to buy when the stock's up like from 200 to 470.
That's when everyone was texting me, Brian, should I buy Tesla? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, long term, sure, but I'm not buying any today.
Right, and then it comes from 470 down to 200, and then people are too scared. I'm like, no, but that's when you want to buy. Like a couple of years ago when Tesla dropped to 120, right, 2023, dropped
Yep.
$120 a share. Everybody's like, oh, we're not going to touch it. No, but that's when you got to buy. And then from 120, we got
That fear factor.
Yeah, from 120 to 470, that was an amazing trade. And I think now from 470 back to 200s, I think anywhere in between 180 and 240 or something, if you own it, I think it's still going to have that run.
Seems solid.
Yeah.
Are you using the fear gauge indicator for that?
Not really. No, mostly just sticking to the chart patterns and support basic stuff. Like I don't use indicators, or I don't really believe too much in indicators because they don't give us like exits points, entry points, and all of that stuff.
Okay.
Whereas with the chart, I could see that, okay, it broke out from about 220 and then went to 470. So even in the 270 area, the 220 where it originally started, the original run up is a good price. And even after earnings coming up on Tesla soon, I don't think it goes below 180. I think that's kind of the floor.
Do you think it's going to go down in earnings?
It's possible, but that might be the buyable position. Like that might be the day to buy. If it does gap down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it could gap down personally. I mean, the uncertainty in markets, that is what causes those price fluctuations. If we knew for a fact that these tariffs were going to land at 10% across the board, 0% across the board, or we're going to have this bucket for these like certainty would give us more clarity. But the fact that they are a
Would love some
multinational
clarity.
company, yeah, and there is no clear guidance of how all of this is actually going to land. I would imagine that there's going to be a lot of hesitancy on potential RFPs they could have, right? There could be hesitancy for any kind of investments internationally, depending on the imports and how that shakes out in the next 6 months. I feel like people are going to be less willing to work
Yeah.
with American companies for the time being. I'm not saying it's net bad or good. I just mean in this short period of uncertainty, I don't see people gung ho on their corporate budgets every quarter trying to expand. They're probably just let's get some cash in the chest. And I mean, you can even look at
I think a
Warren
lot of people
Buffett.
are feeling that.
Yeah, I have a similar cash position as Berkshire right now. I'm on 35% cash. I'm a long-term investor. I think I'm really happy having that much to the side. I think Bitcoin could fall a lot. I think it's amazing it hasn't, but when risk is off the table, I feel like crypto is going to landslide. Um, I'm definitely worried, like in the short to midterm, how this all plays out. Mainly because this is a direct threat to crypto. Like it does trade macro. Like it is an asset that has 100 currencies pouring into it. No different than corn, wheat, oil, right? It's very similar to a commodity. And those are uncorrelated to the equities market in America. It's more about what are all these other countries doing. And the currency that it's denominated in is going to fluctuate based on the supply of it, right? Like if there's more dollars or less dollars being exchanged, that will determine the amount of dollars to buy the same unit. That's why corn goes up and down every month.
Are we worried that the U.S. dollar is losing some of its credibility? I see people aren't snatching up the T-bills at the same rate or something like that I read.
Well, the DXY, which is the dollar index, so how strong is our dollar relative to the rest of the world, has
Yeah.
been on a significant downtrend. And we actually broke our 100 peg, so we're under 100 for the first time since I think 2020, which was
Oh, wow.
pretty bearish for crypto in general. If you overlay the DXY and the Bitcoin price and look at the correlation, you'll be kind of shocked.
Interesting.
So the the Dixie trending down. I've never seen a bull market with that being the case, and Bitcoin
We are not in a bull
all-time
market
high.
at the moment.
Yeah.
But Anmol, you got any
Also,
cryptos you can recommend to us?
I only got
What should we
one.
get into?
Yeah, I got one. It was Algorand. Hasn't performed really well yet, but at the same time, it's been like we've just been staking and stuff. Pays out 7% just to hold it. So I've just been doing that. And before staking, they had the governance, so you could kind of double dip staking and governance. So last quarter was like a 20% just to hold it. So for me, that's more like a
Oh,
2030.
wow.
Yeah, it's not really a trade for me. It's more like a 2030 thing that I feel that it's going to take more and more share of the real world use cases, which is where I think a lot of cryptos are potentially dropping the ball. I think they have a lot of cool projects, but they don't have a lot of real world examples of how it's being used. So that's kind of why I chose that. But that's like a long term investment. A dollar cost average on it. Keep buying. My average cost now is up to 16, 17 cents. I think it's up
What's
to.
the biggest use case with that one?
So Lofty AI is actually probably the one of the biggest one. Lofty AI is a real estate platform where they're decentralized property, so you could buy tokens in the property. So rather than buying the whole
Oh,
property outright,
really?
tokens are divided like $50 a token, so you can spread your risk and get into a bunch of different properties. But the cool part is the rent is paid
Okay.
daily in blockchain. there's no like it's all smart contracts, right? So it's not like, oh, I didn't get my rent payment. If the property that you invested in has a renter, then whatever your ratio of the rent is, you don't have to wait till the end of the month. It's directly deposited into your
Instant.
instant.
I love it.
2.9 seconds, and you get access to all the same data. You can see all the properties data just like you would on Zillow or something, the pictures, the income statements, and you also get to vote on it in a decentralized manner. So let's say there's 50,000 investors in that property, and now the person renting it is not paying rent. So they can send out a vote through the blockchain to
Vote them out.
people on the token. So you get to vote. Do we keep him? Do we extend him like maybe one more month for free? Or do we get rid of him, evict him? And then people in their ratio of their tokens can vote. So that's like brand new. Like that, I think this is going to disrupt a lot of real estate.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
I'm actually studying for my realtor license right now because I just love learning, so I can't stop. And if you overstay your welcome, you're called a tenant in suffrage. We don't like those. I think more real estate needs to be on the blockchain. I mean, I'm buying another property right now, and it's so painful. The experience, the amount of verifications, all these things. It's just like, if you just guarantee the smart contract, we'd be done in like a one thumbprint instant.
Yeah, I know the property goes up in value. You can trade your smart contract because a $50 token might go up to $52, $53. So your token, too. So you get the appreciation and the rent, and there's all smart contracts. Nobody can mess up anything in that. And that's just like one of the use cases. They got a lot of cool stuff being built.
That seems like the way of the future.
Yeah, they got also the polymarket version of it. Polymarket for betting.
Yeah.
They have it now on Algorand. It's called Alpha Arcade. So same as Polygon. So those businesses on its own are worth potentially like a lot more than the whole blockchain currently is worth.
And that only uses the token you mentioned, or you can use other tokens on the betting site?
On the betting side, I think it's usually done through Algorand, but you can use USDC as well. You can use cards to make a payment, but it'll be in the Algorand blockchain.
Okay.
You got to remember that Algorand is just a database. That's all it is. And like these companies that he's talking about, these apps have decided to submit their data to Algorand instead of their own internal server or Ethereum or Solana or Avalanche. There are similar apps on a lot of the other blockchains, but it really depends on why they would choose Algorand. And it's likely because they are, they're compliant. They're ISO 222 compliant, which for the listeners at home means they talk, like Algorand talks the same language as the financial institutional languages of their servers right now. So if they want to register these tokens through the DTCC, making them actual securities and legitimizing their business in a way that you wouldn't really be able to do anywhere else, Algorand would be your one of 5 choices outside of Hedera, Cardano, Ripple, and Stellar Lumens. So I personally own Algorand in the fund. It's actually one of the projects that's still in the green. I'm down on most.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I've done well on Algorand. I've done well on Bitcoin.
Are you staking yours too?
So it actually just auto stakes by holding the token, as Anmol said. It's a way for you to distribute. It's because the token, from what I understand, it is, and if you're deep on Algorand, you could correct me here, but they have that on-chain governance. So when you actually have a circulating token on the Algorand platform, you're owning equity in the blockchain as well, and they distribute NFTs in the sense of, hey, this betting app, they buy a bunch of block space from Algorand to submit all of their data on the blockchain.
Okay.
Algorand makes a profit on those tokens that they buy the block space with. That's your transaction fees on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and everything else. It's the same on Algorand. And the network then distributes those, a piece of those profits to the token holders.
It's like you own a piece of a corporation.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I deal with, selling my fund and just educating institutional investors, right? Advisors, and just helping them understand what these tokens actually are. A lot of them think it's Forex, a lot of them think it's something it isn't.
I mean, I'm always trying to learn and ask questions to you guys so I understand it and hopefully help the listeners understand what to do in this crypto market, because it's not easy to understand if you don't have that background.
100%.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
I'm
we
always
also had,
amazed. I'm like, you guys just
first-
stake these things and get paid 7% or 20% governance. I'm like, it sounds like I'm missing out.
yeah, but you're taking the risk. Like you might get 7%, the token drops 20%, but
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah.
but
Because
There
that's an
is that.
important thing. Anmol just hit. It's
Okay.
7% denominated in the token. So if you got 100 algo, you're going to get 107 algo at the end of the year.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
algo could have got cut in half in that period of time, and you'd have half the money. The 107 didn't do anything,
Yeah,
So it's pick or
But
choose. I think
sometimes
Algorand's
people
a
think
great
it's
long term
safer to
pick.
do it in dollars, but if you're getting interest in dollars, if the inflation goes up, it might outstrip
yeah,
the kick. If you got 5% and inflation's at 5%, you made zero.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think the cool part with the staking thing is that you don't have to like wait till the end of the year to get that. Like it's paid out instantly to the account, so the compounding actually happens a little faster
Yeah, yeah,
than
you are
that.
right.
But yeah, we also had the first ever stock right on the New York Stock Exchange, Exod, tokenized on Algorand blockchain, first ever tokenized stock on the blockchain. And I think Larry Flink, BlackRock, he already talked about like that's where he wants to see the world going. Every shit to be tokenized,
Oh,
stocks,
what's that stock again?
EXOD. So yeah,
EXOD.
first ever real world stock tokenized on the blockchain, and I think we're going to see more and more of that. So that gives me good confidence that okay, the first stock they chose Algorand after all their research. So then the future
Yeah.
ones are going to use
That's
them
huge.
as the benchmark. Like okay, they did it, how they do it, and I think that's where we're
Yeah,
going to
you
see.
just look it up. If you ask ChatGPT how they did it, it's going to say, "Hey, use Algorand here. Let's go."
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
That Exodus had quite
It,
the pop back
yeah,
in early February.
yes, I saw that. It was crazy.
hmm.
So I'm
Blockchain. It's
curious,
going to change. It's going to change
kind
the
of going
world.
back a little bit in your history, Anmol. You started doing the trading during college. What did you? It's tough to know what you learned during college that you can still apply in life today. So what did you learn back then that you still use today in your trading in life?
What I learned is that don't rely on anybody to give you a job or a gig or a role anywhere.
I
Like
like it.
you have to go out and make it happen. Because that's when I started. I wasn't into trading. I didn't learn anything about trading in college. It was just a business degree. But then I wasn't able to like get an internship or job, and I was like, "F this!" Like I'm not going to rely on
Mm-hmm.
other people to give me a role, and I got to figure something out. That's when I just kind of locked myself in a room, and it wasn't hard for me. I'm an introvert, so I was happy to be by myself. Go in there and like doing all the research I could. But I would be heavy back testing things. Like I maintain spreadsheets of all my trades. What if I did this? What would that result in? If I tweaked this in my strategy, what would I have resulted in? Like all that
Yeah.
data to create strategies out of that, which I found.
Do you have software to back test? I always have these crazy ideas. Like, what if I did this with my Apple stock? Can I go back and back test my options ideas?
Yeah, I mean, I did it manually, just on a
Okay.
spreadsheet back then. But right now in our mastermind, which is the chat we had today, is one of the members is like automating a lot of this stuff. So that's going to help us like literally go back in time and put in criteria and get the exact results of what it would have been. So yeah,
That's what I want to know. If I
yeah,
bought Apple stock, every Monday at 9:30 and sold it at 10 a.m. for a
yeah,
year, does that work?
right. There's a lot of variables you could track to figure that out. But do you just curious? Do you do covered calls in your fund on all your long term positions?
I do not know. I've been considering it, especially after doing more and more research on Warren Buffett and what
Mhm.
he did with Coca-Cola, making money like that. Um, that I'd love
Good
to
cash
talk to you
flow.
about that offline. Yeah, I mean, from what I've been told, now this is, me just because I'm a very slow, patient, conservative dude, even though I'm in crypto. I'm following
Those are
Bitcoin
exact
ground rule.
opposite.
I only know software,
Crypto
brother.
moves fast and furious.
Like, I only know software. Like, if a bomb went off right now and EMPs crushed circuitry, I am useless. I can do nothing. But I am great at software. I only invest in things that I know, which is
Yeah,
software.
same.
So that's where that's where I've been taken. And I just I I'm learning this fund manager space. I've met a bunch of fund managers that have talked about the insurance for covered calls on Bitcoin is too expensive with the volatility.
Mhm.
I don't know, but that's just what I've been told by people that have some serious AUM. But that also just might be the AUM size part. right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're thinking about doing a $10 million covered call, like, yeah, maybe, right? Especially if you're having a lot of volatility and you have a strategy that's not really returning well, you might not be able to actually cover the insurance in that way. But
The
I'd love to
way
talk
Amel
about
asked
that
the question sounds
offline.
like we need to be doing covered calls.
I mean, at least for the stocks, right? Like if you have Apple and all of the Tesla or things like that, then I mean, it's basically in a way free money because you're owning your stock anyway, and now you're just writing
Yeah.
calls on the stock position you own. And if you sell them far enough, they're never going to be called away. So you're just collecting income. So that lowers your average cost basis.
The
Right?
one time I wrote a bunch of covered calls, it got called away because it was like the one time Apple just shot up, and I'm like, it just went
Right.
up 30% in 6 months. I did not expect
Yeah.
that. Um,
Yeah, but then you can rinse and repeat. So then, if they take away the stock from you, then you start selling cash secured puts, right? So then now again, you keep collecting that income from it. One day you're going to get assigned those shares. You
yeah.
get it back, and then you repeat it again. Start selling covered calls on them, and you likely won't get called away. Then the day they do, you start selling puts again, and the option wheel strategy. You keep repeating that, and then that
All
way
right. So
you're
what's the strategy? So Apple, right now is right around 200, let's say, is a round number. How far out you think I should be selling the calls, and how far out of the money do you think I should go?
Yeah, so I like to do them like either weekly or monthly. Now you might depends on how active you want to be in your fund, and because I'm sure you have other regulations
I
that.
don't have a fund, just to clarify. I'm just a
Okay.
personal investor.
Oh, then do it every week. Then do it every week. 'Cause, it's much
I'm
easier.
not submitting my trades to anyone. It's just
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Because then do it every week. Because then you don't have to. Let's say if Apple is at two hundred
This is
dollars.
not, hold on. Gentlemen, this is not financial advice to the listener
Yeah,
at home. All right.
Yeah,
yeah. So
this
then,
is just fun ideas,
yeah,
potential ideas.
Education. Yeah.
potential.
Education.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
because if you sell covered calls, let's say a year out, then a lot can happen in a year, right? And it's too hard to predict. But if I do it every month, then okay, if Apple's at 200, it's not going to go to 250 in like next 2 weeks,
God, I
right?
hope it does, but yeah, probably not.
Yeah, probably not. So you sell the price where you think it's not going to go in that period, and maybe you get less premium. Maybe you only
But
get two
even though
dollars.
you get so little premium, though, if you go that high,
Yeah, but
you're
if you get
saying
two
still worth
dollars,
it.
yeah. So then next month, what happens? If you own Apple at $200 a share and you just get $3 in premium, now next month your average cost is 197 on that position, right? Then
Yep.
now you can sell it again, like another 240. You get another $3 next month. Now your average
Oh,
cost
I
is
like that. I never thought about it that way.
so every month your average cost is actually going down, and then one day they'll take it away from you, but you're happy to sell it because you made a profit, and then you sell naked puts on it again, and you just rinse
Okay.
and repeat the strategy. Like just on
So you
Tesla,
think keeping it, that shorter term, so yeah, you kind of know where the market's headed. You're not doing some long-term risk.
yeah, because you don't want to sell like
And
the
then
next
just being consistent.
consistent. Like I do that on Tesla position almost every. I do it like weekly sometimes, like bi-weekly more
Okay.
often. Because then
Yep.
even every week I collect, let's say $2. Now at the end of the month, my average cost is lowered by $8 on my Tesla stock. So it's kind of like a lot of people own stock and they're hoping for appreciation. That's similar to if you own a property and you only worry
Yeah.
about appreciation. But what about let's collect rent too while we own the property?
Get the rent. Same
So
way
I
you're
think
staking your cryptos.
right. So I look at like my
Yeah.
Tesla position as it's a rental property and I'm going to generate rent. And yeah, one day it'll appreciate. I'll get
I've
the
never
money.
thought about my stocks that way. It's a really interesting mindset.
Yeah.
And just so the listeners know, when we're talking about, $2 a premium, options are actually 100 shares per option. So you're really getting
Right.
$200, so people understand the math here.
Right. $200
Because
a month.
$2 doesn't even buy you a Coke at the gas station anymore, I don't think. I don't know.
Yeah. If you have 1,000
Right.
shares, that's like $2,000 a week in just income coming in from your stock.
Yeah. Do you have a certain amount of covered calls that you like to do compared to your whole position? Are you like, oh, let's do, 2% a week, or is there a formula you use like that?
I honestly just do it on my entire position because then,
Really?
yeah, because my entire position then lowers cost every week. So if you own, Tesla at $200, if it doesn't go anywhere in the next 2 months, then by next 2 months I've lowered my cost by like almost $16. That's
Wow.
a good chunk of
Your
change.
Tesla's already free now. Get out of here.
That's the thing. It can eventually, if you do it long enough and the stock is not too volatile, if it's just like moving up slowly, right, or if it's just going back and forth sideways,
Yeah.
if you do it long enough, you're going to get to a point where not free, but a lot of that could be paid off already.
Yeah. I mean, some of these stocks, if you get caught holding a micro strategy or something like that, and it goes up 500%, goes right past your price, all of a sudden you lost your entire position.
Right.
But
Yeah.
you'll come back and get it again.
Yeah. Then you start selling puts on him again, and then when
Okay.
it goes down, you'll get your shares back. If it doesn't, then at least you still get income every week.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty good strategy. At least
It makes me nervous trying to do it on my whole position.
start with like start with like 10% of it as you get comfortable.
Yeah. That's why I was asking that question. I was like, what's that size? So interesting that you're willing to put it all at risk. But yeah, just so everyone knows, Anmol is a professional trader. This is his day job. He's not just a person at home. So how do you advise your students? If I was a student, do you recommend that type of risk, to your students, or do you have a completely different, mindset when someone's getting started?
Yeah, so trading would be different. Like trading would be like in and out picking technical setups. So that's like separate. This is more done for if you're going to hold stocks in your long-term portfolio that you don't really plan on selling.
Yeah.
For a while, then might as well keep doing it to lower the cost basis. And there's no risk. The only risk is the stock gets taken away from you. But if you are selling the covered call higher than your average cost that you own the stock, even if you do sell it, it's still a profit.
You still made money. If Apple goes to 250 and it's up 25% from today, I mean, I'm not that upset.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You still get to take the profits and you get the income too, right?
Yeah.
And then again, you go back and do it all over again. You could just buy it instantly as soon as the shares get taken out, buy it back the next day, and then do it all over again. There's a lot of ways.
I have to wait a month to buy it back, right? Or I get a short-term gain hit or something?
Right, yeah. You'll have that watch sale rule kick in. You'll have some of those profits. But again, if you do that consistently, it'll pay for itself over a long enough time frame.
Okay. What other strategies do you have that I can make some money on my, Apple and Tesla stock? Anything else out there that I'm not thinking about that other listeners can hear about too?
I mean, there are a bunch, but this is kind of what I do. Easiest.
Okay.
Own your stock and keep selling calls against it. Now you're just an insurance company. You're writing insurance policies for other people.
Yeah.
So collect the premium every week.
I feel like finding that right balance of the premium is really key. It's like, do I want to go out a few more weeks, get a little bit more premium,
Yeah, I think for most people, going 1 month is good,
Yeah.
Weekly, I do weekly, but again, I'm, doing it like every day. So it's different. I'm monitoring it every day. So I do weekly, but typically if you're in April 1st, do the April ending, if you're in May, do the May ending. So you do like,
I love that concept. I would love to really do the analysis if Bitcoin's volatility is too pricey for that kind of strategy, right? Because I mean, it can swing literally 30% in a day, up or down. I mean, just like last year towards the end after Trump got announced, right? We went from 50.
That was wild.
To 108 in 60 days.
But if you had a covered call at 100K, you'd still have been thrilled that your like Bitcoin doubled. Like you couldn't have been like mad.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's crazy. That's crazy, And then it's down to 80. I mean, it went up 100, down 30. That's inside of 5 months. It's done that, And there have been multiple 10, 12, 15% days either way in between then.
Well, I think that's a good stock to make that volatility on. I mean, one of my buddies made a ton of money selling covered calls on MicroStrategy, and it was because the volatility is so high that he was able to get so much good premium out of it.
Yeah. And in the period like right now when it's doing nothing, it's just going sideways, you still get weekly premiums.
Yeah.
Where the stock's not doing anything.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. That's super interesting.
Yeah, and you could use BITO, instead of doing it on Bitcoin, you could do it on the ETF BITO. So you could buy the ETF and sell calls against that.
I personally,
I like it.
I'm not licensed to deal with securities or commodities, so it's purely a crypto fund. And the exchange that I'm currently on, Kraken, does not offer options yet.
Okay. Well, I can do it. I got some iBit.
Yeah, that's more Brian's speed. All that stuff. I love it though. Berkshire Hathaway did that. I mean, I was looking into Warren, and he got the majority of his 400 million shares, which is an insane amount of Coca-Cola shares, through this. And they even have an entire insurance department now. I mean, they have so much cash.
What percent does he own of Coca-Cola? I don't remember.
Ooh.
It's huge, though.
I don't know. 400 million shares is crazy. Like, I don't know if he still owns 400 million shares, but this piece I was reading, I was just like, good Lord, that's a lot of Coca-Cola.
I forget exactly how many
And
shares
it's
of
not even
Apple
his
they
biggest
own, but I
position.
mean, they owned 5% of Apple at one point. I think now he's down to like 2.5% or something, maybe. But I mean, that is just
Manages a trillion.
wild.
That's $1 trillion. That's what it does. You could own 4 million shares of Coke and it doesn't even show up in your allocation sheet. That's good.
So we're talking a lot about
crazy.
Warren Buffett. Warren
Yeah.
Buffett. Emil, do you have a trader that you look up to, like some mentor out there in the industry that's a well-known name we might know about?
Honestly, not really. I used to be like very active. Like I used to follow, what's happening in the industry, what other people are doing. But last, I would say 3 to 4 years, I've just been like in my own spreadsheets, looking at my own data and trying to make adjustments.
Yeah.
So yeah, not a lot of traders I follow. I mean, the guy who's my business partner, I bought him out this year. So he taught me how to trade. He was my mentor, Jared. So
Oh,
that's kind of
cool.
how I learned under. But yeah, he's kind of retired now. So yeah, not a lot of traders now that I personally follow. It's just people in the mastermind. We're all just sharing ideas and trying to lift each other up.
So you met your
That's
mentor when
awesome.
you were leaving college,
Yeah,
or
no,
when did you meet him?
I met him online. Till like I didn't think I met him till I was like 22, and we started working like 18. So yeah, because he was in the U.S., I was in London at that time, so we never met in person. Till
Okay.
like the U.S.
He taught you the deep
So
secrets of
cool.
trading. I love it.
Yeah, I mean the best part was like kind of like a drill sergeant, right? Like teaching you do it the right way and all you're calling you out on your BS or the bad mistakes or the extra risk you take sometimes. I think those things are a lot more important than learning the actual technical analysis because anybody can learn that.
Yeah. Oh, there's a cup. Okay, I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, but then it's like, okay, can you do that without with being emotionally controlled, right? Without
Dude,
doing extra.
emotions are tough with trading.
That's everything.
How do you separate the emotion when you like? Now I can tell you love Tesla. How do you separate the emotion of a love for a stock versus needing to sell it or buy it?
Anytime I get into anything, the first thing I tell is like, okay, what's my exit point if I'm wrong? Or
Okay.
what's my exit point if I'm right? And if it hits those exit points, I don't care if I love the company, I'm out. It's like the age old saying, right? I'd rather be out of a trade wishing I was in rather than being in wishing I was out. That's kind of
Oh
how I
yeah.
live by it. So if something hits my predefined loss limit, like I'm out. I could love the company, but I could care less. And if it comes back, I'll always buy it back.
So even though you
I'm
love
not.
Tesla, it goes to 500. No, you're
I
selling
sold
it.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
sold it.
like
I started selling it at 420 because I was like, oh, 420, nice
yeah,
number.
it's a good
That's what it's
number.
worth.
Elon Musk loves 422. So
So I thought, okay, so 420, I started like selling it, 450, 470. At the time, I was completely out of it. Then rebought it, a couple weeks ago at 200, 220. And
nice.
only like, it's still 85%, left 15% cash in case after earnings we get a gap down that I could add it and get
Yeah.
my average cost to like 190. But yeah, originally I bought it at 120, sold it, started selling it around 400s, and then now buying it back.
Okay, perfect. Yes, you scale out as it goes up, and you scale back in when it comes back down.
Right. Yeah.
I need to do that. I need to do that more personally.
Yeah.
I do that in my fund almost exactly. Like I trim profits on the way up in bull markets. That's
Mm.
that and LPs coming in. That's a new thing. And well, if you ever start a fund, the interesting part is you have new capital coming in and you have another variable that has nothing to do with your actual trades, but your portfolio return.
Mm.
Like because you're getting new liquid capital from new LPs, diluting the ownership every month. It's been an interesting angle
You
to the
don't put it to
game, and
work, it's
I
zero
do.
percent. You gotta get it in, right?
Yeah,
Or
there's
do you?
that.
Yeah.
Well, so I mean, yeah, that I've personally been sitting on the sidelines now. I really do see I don't know. The charts, are looking really bleak. I don't know if you've looked at the larger time frames and more on Bitcoin. I'd love to know your thoughts on it, short, mid, long term. I put out my investor letter beginning of this year, and I was under the impression that we were going to have a short term bullish moment. Midterm, we're going to be very bearish to a lot of the macro that I study, and then long term bullish as ever. But I
Always long
really do
term
see a
bullish.
lot of this stuff. Yeah, I just see a lot of these things coming to a head,
Mm.
and I think the end result, believe it or not, will be deflationary. We have the DXY down 13%. That's signaling deflation, right? We have consumer demand likely going lower because prices will get higher due to the tariffs. And when you have the Dixie going under 100 and you have consumer demand going down, core CPI going down, that is deflation. Like we're experiencing a little bit of deflation. And if we don't get any QE or quantitative easing or money printing for the folks listening, I don't see these assets getting injected with more hot air. And I think Powell is defending his space to cut because he too is worried about something like that. Right? If he wasn't worried about keeping his
Yeah, he
guns
said
intact,
yesterday, and doesn't sound like he's cutting right away.
yeah. And I mean, he sees core going right down to 2. That's where he wants it. Why does he need to cut? Labor market's decent.
And the retail
Right?
sales were up. Yes, wasn't the most up ever yesterday. Even it was like 1% or something. It wasn't like that crazy, but that's what it said.
For now, yeah, for now, Um, and you have consumers that are maxed out on credit cards and debt further than they've ever been, ever, period,
Yeah.
even adjusting for inflation. I mean, people, I think that's why we see so much speculation in these
Everyone's trying to
markets,
enjoy
why
their
they're
life. I mean,
so.
post-COVID, let's go.
Yeah. You see, you can now get your DoorDash on Affirm. Buy now, pay later for DoorDash.
I saw that.
And then you got Rolex allows you to now
Who,
do the buy now.
I don't understand. Why are you ordering food if you can't pay the $30 delivery? Like I feel like that's an issue.
It's crazy.
Dude, they already got 80K of student loan debt. What's another 10,000?
No, I
of
mean
Uber debt?
I get it on a large purchase. I'm gonna buy an Apple computer for $2,000. I get the 12 months same as cash, and it makes sense. But like
But Rolex, I'm like, if you can't buy the Rolex outright, don't.
you shouldn't buy it. Don't buy
take
it.
a loan out for it.
I mean, too many people are spending money they don't have, on things that aren't going to help them out in life. I mean, if you're buying I'm going back to the Apple computer, at least if you're spending money on something that's going to help you do better in your work,
Right.
that could have ROI, but the Rolex, not much ROI in the Rolex.
That's how they get you. They're like, oh, interest-free payments for, like next 2 months if paid off or whatever. But then what happens if they don't pay it in 2 months? Now you get started hitting with
25% interest.
Yeah, and that's going to happen.
Crazy.
I mean, it's happening a lot. No savings. People are on debt, and usually doesn't end well.
Are you leveraging on your trading?
Yeah, I mean, for the stuff that I do short term, they're all on margin. They're all on leverage. Okay. But the only stuff that I'm not holding for more than, let's say, a few months. If there's a long-term position, I try to just stick with cash because then I don't have to worry about it going down or going up. There might be some margin, but it's going to be very little margin on the long-term stuff.
I see some of these professional traders do like 50 or 101 on the margin. If it goes down like 1%, it like sells off. Like there's no room for error.
Yeah, that's how we had it in the prop firms back in the day. So we used to get 100-to-1 leverage on the prop firm side of things, but then in the firm we weren't allowed to hold it for past a few days on margin. So that was kind of their And you can only lose what you had cash in your account. So once you lost that, you have to re-up, otherwise you're done. So yeah, I mean, I don't recommend.
When were you trading like that?
Yeah,
all the way till 2015, from 2011, 2012 to 2015.
Wow.
So yeah, 100-to-1 leverage, and we could fund accounts with like 10,000, 20,000. They give us like $1 million sometime in buying power. But that was a good back in the day because they actually taught you a lot of good things. Nowadays, prop firms are mostly just glorified brokers. They don't care if you make money or not. They just make money on your fees and your commissions. Whereas back in the day, they generally would back you with their money. They'd help, teach you, coach you, which doesn't exist anymore. Prop firms these days.
Was that your first job out of college?
Yeah. That was my first ever job. I've never had a job.
I almost worked at a prop firm out of college. Man, so many similarities. So funny.
Yeah.
That's awesome. My parents wouldn't let me do it. I was trying to get a job at like a big hedge fund or a big bank in New York. I didn't get the jobs I wanted right away. But I had an offer to work at a prop firm, and they're like, "No, you can't do that." It's like, my parents steered me towards something more traditional. I ended up being completely untraditional.
Hey, you didn't listen to a lick, brother.
No. I didn't want a job at a normal bank in Cincinnati. I'm sorry.
Yeah, hustling Apple phones out of your backpack, brother. That's not.
Hell yeah. Emma, what do you think about Apple? What do you think about Apple's valuation? Where are we going from here? Any good ideas?
I mean,
give me technicals, brother.
I mean, right now it's not bad, right? I mean, if you asked me earlier, when Warren Buffett, when he started selling and he got that run up, so the monthly time frame, it was very normal actually. I think this is a very healthy pullback. I don't think
Okay.
anyone looked at the chart. I think the drop we had recently, 169, technically was the perfect level, right, to buy it at. And yeah, you're seeing the comeback from there. So long term, not worried about Apple at all.
You're pretty
Uh,
bullish at this current price.
I wouldn't say pretty. Like I don't own it right now, so I'm not. Really that bullish. I just
Don't
don't
love
see.
it, don't hate it,
Yeah, like if you're a long-term investor, there's nothing to worry about. As a trade, I don't
Yeah.
see it. I missed that drop we had at 169. That comeback was just caught everybody off guard. Like I was very
Yep.
close to pulling the trigger. I had options on that day, so I made money on it, but I sold it like very quickly because I didn't expect that green candle that we got on the news. That was completely out of the technicals, projections.
Yeah.
So yeah, the bounce happened pretty quickly, but that was a good
All you
trade.
need to do is put out like a big PR news blast saying that all tariffs are canceled, and then just your options will go through the roof, and then sell them off and cancel it. False news story.
And right before that announcement, you could see it. I didn't pay attention in the options contract volume. Right before Trump tweeted that, and right before the announcement came, there was a ton of call buying on the markets. I was like, why are people buying it right now? And then we saw it 30 minutes later. What happened?
So fun. I was in a text chat with my family, and I said, "Hey, I'm reading all these rumors right now that they're about to get Apple's about to get no tariffs and all this stuff happening with them." And then, sure enough, the next day, that's what happened. But I don't have any options on it.
Yeah. I was pretty bummed that day because I was up beautifully, but I was like, oh, we got to bounce. I'm going to sell it, bear market bounce. And then it just kept going that day, never stopped.
That was wild.
Yeah, super.
We probably have a lot of newbie traders out there. I mean, any like high level thoughts for someone that maybe it's more of an intermediate trader like me or a beginner trader that we should start to think about before we get to the pro level?
I would just take it really slow. Like I think a lot of newer traders, especially online, that I see are in a rush to make that buck. Because
Small risk.
because they came into the trading era. Majority of the people came in 2020 to trading. Majority
Yep.
of them, and they came through like GameStop, AMC, crypto. So they have a wrong perception.
Those GameStop traders.
Yeah, they have the wrong perception of what's
Yeah.
trading for a living professionally looks like versus what it is.
Yeah.
And it's not that. It's not buying GameStop and AMC. It's like
Those are trading on rumors and Wall Street bets. I mean, it's like,
yeah. If you trade on rumor, like the thing is online,
Yeah.
everybody's going to tell you when to buy a stock. Have you noticed nobody tells you when to sell it? Everybody's like buy GameStop, buy
because no one
AMC.
knows.
Nobody knows, and they're all holding the bag. So it's like you have to have a system. You have to have entry exit points. You have to have a, you need to know your win loss ratio, what your expectancy is, what your sharp ratio is. Like you need to know those metrics. So you need to know if the strategy is even profitable. But if you're trading,
Yeah.
I hope it goes up. I read something. I mean, that's not really a strategy.
Hope and prayers don't make good business.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
I like that.
Absolutely.
I think that start small really resonates. It's like, yeah, if you have $1,000 to invest and you're just starting off, risk $20. Like, yeah, don't lose half your trade on your first day in the market or something.
Or maybe prove yourself on a demo account first. If
Yes.
you're not going to make money on a demo, you're not going to make money in a real account.
You can buy if people out there don't know, you can buy partial shares on a Robinhood account or whatever it is. So it's like
Right.
you can buy $1 of Apple and
Yeah.
you get 5% of a share. So
Yeah. So prove
or
yourself.
0.5%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Start small. I like it.
Start small, prove yourself, earn the right to raise more risk. So and every year I increase my risk on my positions, but my account needs to grow in that proportion so I can raise the risk.
Yeah.
So I think raise the amount and earn the right to raise the risk, even if you have the money. Because some people come to the market, they got millions of dollars saved up from their business, but you haven't earned the right to risk that money yet because you're still
No.
And market doesn't care if you're an ex-CEO. Market doesn't care if you're a janitor. It's going to treat everybody the same way. So you got to adhere to those rules.
Yeah, being smart or unintelligent does not correlate to how to trade. So
Definitely.
it'll put you down real quick if you go too big. How does someone invest professionally alongside you? How does that work? I know you have a site called Live Traders, so I can live trade with you, or I watch videos you trading. How does that work?
Yeah, so live traders, we got a few different things. So one of them is the live trading room. So there, I stream myself trading every day.
Okay.
From 9 o'clock till about 11 o'clock, and then 11 to 12, there's another guy that comes on. So
We're literally watching you live trade. That's why it's called Live Traders.
Yeah, win or lose, you will see it in real time. If I'm frustrated, you'll hear it. If I'm angry, you'll
Okay.
hear it.
Are you
happy with
cussing? Is there a lot of expletives as the market's moving against you?
Not really. Yeah, no, not really. I mean, I'm very quiet. If I'm disappointed, I'll be quietly disappointed.
Okay.
But I try not to voice my concerns or my doubts just because I'm a big believer in psychology. So I just focus on the next trade, like get back on the
I
horse,
like it.
take it on the chin, move on to the next trade. Because
The
if you
same way
go
with a
along,
golfer. I mean, he one bad golf shot. You don't have to ruin the whole round. I mean, yeah, go
yeah,
back
and
out there and
I hit
play the next
bad
hole.
shots throughout the whole round, but I'm still be like, all right, next next hole. You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely. I love that.
yeah.
You gotta do that with crypto. You gotta develop some of those tricks, man.
JT, you could be the
Mine,
live
I say
crypto
it all the
trader.
time. Yeah, it'd be really boring. You want to watch me read white papers in research architecture? And I really resonated with what you said. People have expectations, and there's the reality. I see those TikToks all the time.
Right.
Like, I'm a crypto hedge fund manager, right? And then expectations would be like private jet. You're in Dubai, you're flying around, having a great time, grand old time. And then reality, it's me, my chubby ass,
In the
sitting in the
basement.
basement for about 12 to 14 hours a day, risking carpal tunnel, just reading. It's the most boring life, and I love it. It's not what you would expect, though. You got to be a bookworm. You got to be, at least with my strategy, like the
Yeah.
way I like to do it. So it all looks different. Some other people like yourself, they're a lot more active in their stuff. My way to pull myself out of those, like, I just got hit in the mouth. Like, if I open my account right now, I got 8 positions that are more than 75% down, right? That's getting hit in the mouth. That's like, yo, what's happening, right?
You got your air knocked
And
out.
you, dude, the projects are solid too. They're spitting off $1 billion in net profit a year with no employees. Think about that, right? Like, incredible
That's crazy.
businesses down 75%,
Hmm.
right? They're 50% below the TVL that's actually on their platform. People are overselling. So, like, I got to take that in the mouth. And my anchor for those emotions is when in doubt, zoom out. The second I catch myself, like, I know this business. They are making money. They
Yeah.
are successful. Like, just think about them compounding. 2 years ago when I bought them, they were doing 120 million. So it's like they're growing. This is great.
I
I'm
like
right
it.
long term, short term. People just don't understand this at all. The information is, if you're in crypto and you're listening, like, no one understands it. Every price is just like a collective opinion on something. Everyone thinks it's going to be worth more or less in the future. And like right now, people think they're dead. People think blockchain's dead. Only Bitcoin's going to last. Like, it's all stupid.
Yeah.
You just can't listen to it. It's just don't listen to it. Like,
You don't have any mantra, right? OM. What happened to that one?
no,
Oh
no,
my.
brother. Actually, I went live and reviewed it. Apparently the CEO had he's trying to say that it was not disingenuous, and they do have an inflationary tokenomic model. So I think he's actually just going to return the tokens, and I don't think people know the implications of that, right? Like, gosh, it's crazy. I don't know. I'm not buying that. I'm staying the hell away
No.
from it. I
I didn't
think
hear any.
that
I didn't hear anything about this crypto story.
Oh wow.
well,
Crazy.
yeah. I mean, Amble, you're the guest. Go for it, man. I
No,
mean,
Yeah,
man.
whatever you know
tell us
I'm
about
what's
it.
looking at the
up.
chart from $9 to 66 cents. Crypto dropped in a matter of a day or two.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
It's called a candle of
Is it a
death, I think
scam?
is what we called it.
Rug
Uh,
pull?
Apparently not. Apparently not. I mean, you would think, right? 90% drop in a day. There's actually this really cool tool called DeFi Llama. I use it for a lot of on-chain data. You can go in there and look at the liquidity pool. It's TVL, literally falling off a shelf with straight lines. And
Yeah.
how many straight lines do you see in a chart?
how many straight lines?
Right. Okay. That's called a design. That's man, right?
Yeah.
That's not nature psychology. That's none of that. It looked very clearly that there are tranches where the initial LPs that invested took profit based on market cap. The direct correlation is market cap hits a new peak, then the liquidity pool
Trashes
goes
it.
from 100% down to 60%. down to 20, so literally it ran so hard off rip that every single VC investor and LP in that business took their winnings off the table the same day. That's what it looks like. And that's what the CEO basically said. There's a lot of internal strife. We're figuring it out. I think it's a terrible look because they're attacking the RWA space, which is real world asset tokenization. That is exactly what we talked about earlier with Algorand. So it's a completely saturated marketplace because I can bring my asset on chain onto any database. It doesn't matter if it's Algorand, Hedera, Ethereum. They have all different unique properties that, I would choose one over the other for
Yeah.
whatever my value system is for my business.
We don't need another
But in
one.
general, yeah, BlackRock put their treasuries on Ethereum. They called it the BIDL token, right? Then you have this stock choosing Algorand, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the
The
California
market's already
government,
spoken, basically. It's like, all right, well, here's the
yeah.
best options.
I don't see the RWA space growing in a sense of formidable names. I just see market share going to a few. And Ondo is 4 years ahead of them. Ethereum's 9 years ahead of them. Algorand's 5 years ahead of them. Hedera's 7 years ahead of them. Like,
Wow.
it's just an oversaturated market with a lot better tools. And the CEO having this kind of issue off rip, I am staying very far away from Mantra.
As a non-daily crypto trader, I think that's why people get scared of investing in crypto. The fact that you could literally lose 90%. I mean, even like a really bad stock day, like United Healthcare posted, terrible earnings. Their stock's down 20%. Like, that's almost like as bad as it gets. Like, you don't hear of a stock losing 90% in a day unless it's like, fraudulent or like, I know I remember Nikola, that truck company, when they posted they had fraud, I think the stock dropped like, 60 some percent in a day or something. But it has to be that type of fraud to lose that type of money.
And that's why my strategy works. And it usually eats the quant funds that I interact with, it eats them for lunch, like in terms of returns. Because this market can turn on you faster and
That's
more
crazy.
dramatic than anything
You wake up
else.
and you lose half your money and you're like, what?
I know I can't say their name, but there was a firm and their strategy blew up because they were arbitraging exchanges, and then Uniswap comes out with V4 and it makes the market 1,000 times more efficient and
Wow.
destroys liquidity pool arbitrage. And now they had hundreds of millions on the strategy and it's gone, right? Like that. So it's like, the best way to be safe is to just know what you're buying, right? It's very simple.
Yes. Do
Know
your
what you're
research. We
buying.
always tell everyone, do your research. Whether it's fundamental or technical. Either way.
90%
Yeah.
of people who have crypto, right? 90% of the people who own crypto, like on the street, not us, but like regular folks, they don't even know what the supply of the token is. They don't even know if they can create more tokens. They don't know anything, right? Like, I think that's the basic fundamental for
They just heard
crypto.
their friend talking about it at the party,
Yeah.
having a beer last Friday, and I should probably buy some
They
of
have
those.
no idea that they could just dilute you, create more tokens out of the fly, and there's no like cap supply. So there's what are you really buying then? What's the scarcity?
Can't any
I talked about
security
this on
do
my
that though?
channel.
Can't any stock just make more supply? They can make more stock, right?
Yeah, they could do that, but in the end,
But it's rare.
It's rare. And if they do that, the stock's going to tank, right? Stock's going to drop if they do the secondary offerings and all of that. That's why things drop and dilute people.
Unless you're a MicroStrategy, sometimes they pull off these secondary offerings and it keeps going up.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
I'm curious to see if what JT says if we do get that crypto downturn, because now MicroStrategy average cost is 68,000.
We'll get crushed. It can't go to 50. I mean, the company's bankrupt. I mean, they'd have to.
Right. So that's the point concern.
It's my biggest concern. I think he's the dark horse. We always have one every bull market. Sam Bankman-Fried, the last one, right? Mt. Gox before that. I absolutely believe a $50,000 Bitcoin is in the table. I do studies on the correlation of the cost of production relative to the price of Bitcoin. That's an interesting correlation. Every single cycle, because you got to remember this, Bitcoin halves. If you get the same economic output I'm sorry, if you have the same economic input and the output gets halved, the cost of production doubles, right? So every cycle, the cost to make a Bitcoin gets more, especially if you include the inflation across the countries these miners are operating in for the cost of power, right? That's
Yep.
why it tracks macro. Okay. So every cycle, the bear and bull markets go between a band of minus 60% at the worst, below the cost of production, and up to 300% above the cost of production, right? So back in the day, it only cost $40 to make a Bitcoin, right? Ran to 200 something, back down to 10, right? And it keeps,
Now it's
if
80
they're
grand or something.
extreme, it's $87,642 to make on average today. So a
It can go so
$50,000
it can go
Bitcoin
anywhere
is
from 50 then to 350 in terms of that
based on
those
based on the
numbers.
tranches of support.
Yeah.
Based on the tranches of support, 50 has a lot of support. The next one after that's 35, and that's also the next Fibonacci sequence down as well, serendipitously. So I could see all the way down to close to 35. I mean, that would be roughly 60%. That would be
Wow.
like the 2014 bear market that's
Jeez.
happened before.
Hopefully
Um,
not, 'cause that would signal a larger bear market, in my opinion. I think that all my stocks would be down a ton if
Yeah.
Bitcoin
Like
gets
I think
halved.
I think 60, if it holds 60, we're still good long term. But yeah, if it starts breaking under 60, 55, then there's really nothing until 30s, as you said. So
yeah.
yeah,
Amol, do you even
And
worry about the long term, or are you just thinking what that short term cycle is?
I don't own any Bitcoin. So
Okay.
yeah, I don't
No
own any
coins.
Bitcoin. So no coins, only got the Algorand. And
Okay.
yeah, good.
You're the most interesting crypto guy I've met for that state. That sentence right there is crazy to me.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never been it because I think about it this way. Let's say Bitcoin even right now for 85 goes to, let's say, 150. Okay, fine. You got 90% return, 80% return, but there's more bang for the buck now for that crypto at 16-20 cents going to $2 to $3. So there's more, I think, better use of the capital. Plus, I get the staking in between. So I think that's kind of the reason. But
Okay.
I trade Bitcoin. Like I'll trade it. Like I'll be buying and selling Bitcoin, but I don't like own for like long term.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I got a technology point of view, so I don't love Bitcoin. Just being honest, but I'll trade it, but I
Yeah.
won't date it.
Yeah, it's only 20% of my fund. I invest in, 30 or so blockchain. It's a blockchain technology index fund. Store of value, Bitcoin is really just a risk off. It's more like representing my risk profile for the time being. That's the closest thing to risk off I can buy in my fund since I'm not licensed to buy,
Why don't you
securities
park
or
that cash in
commodities.
Bitcoin, JT? I'm curious. Too much downside near term?
The order book has Bitcoin in the last 3 months oversold by 180 billion in the past 3 months, which means that we would need a net
It should be a
inflow.
buy that based on the
And
oversold.
yeah, right, a net inflow, but for the relative strength or the order book to settle out at 50, meaning it's neutral, we're crabbing, right, the momentum in the order book, it wouldn't have to be a net 260 billion, and the ETF outflows are stronger than inflows for the first time in
Okay.
like 6 months. And that's sharp. Like, I don't know how much you trust momentum indicators. You say you do swings, right? So you probably like watching the order book a little bit. Go to the monthly MACD, RSI, stochastic RSI, and email me what you think, brother. It's looking rough. The order book,
What
right?
is
It's
what
not
is MACD
predictive.
for everyone out there? I don't know what that means.
It's essentially an indicator that manages or monitors, sorry, the volume and then the price movement over the past two specific time periods,
Okay.
denoted in the time frame you're looking at it. So like I have it set to the previous 12 and 26 months,
Okay.
right? So because I'm a long-term investor, right? I'm thinking about my entry pretty much only. And when I look at that indicator, what I'm seeing is for the first time since January of 2022, we have bearish divergence. That only happens 2 to 3 times a decade. And it is always the signal for the bear market. I have RSI making lower and lower highs, right? I have the stochastic RSI on a death cross on the monthly, by the way. That's over 500 billion of trade data on a monthly candle, right? Like on the
Listeners, you
monthly,
do
we
not want
have.
death cross. You do not want the death cross.
You don't want that. You want a
No.
golden cross.
Yes.
So a death cross is where the short-term price or short-term sells or buys, right, are lower than the long-term. So the last 12 on the MACD, the volume of sells is up 12% in the last 12 months, and it's about to cross below. If this month prints below 85, we're going to death cross on the MACD, saying that the previous 26-month buys mean nothing in terms of the previous 12-month sells. And the stochastic RSI did that 3 months ago. And the split, the distance between the long and short term sells and buys is getting greater, which means we're accelerating in sells. So I mean, just everything's cooling off. That's what that typically means. If
Okay.
this death cross drops below the 20 level, never in 16 years has Bitcoin not been in a bear market when that happens, and we're sitting at the 35 level right now, and we were at 88 3 months ago. So
we're like a small bear at the moment. It's not the grizzly yet, but it's feeling a little bearish on there.
I mean, right now my fund is 20% Bitcoin, 35% cash. I am risk off. I do not like these prices. I haven't liked them in a while. I've just been taking I've just been taking profits as Anmol suggested, like I still have positions that are up a few 100%, right? So I'm
Yeah.
taking my profits and then I'm putting it in cash, getting small yield, and I'm just going to wait this out. And I think that's the right move personally, because I have 5 years of my investors' capital, right?
Yeah.
So I have time to let the market show me what to do. And right now, this uncertainty has me just wanting to just see what happens. I don't think we're going to have some categorically massive QE blow off top again. I don't see that happening personally.
It's interesting to see the difference in your strategies. I mean, Anmol doesn't care if it lasts for more than a day, but you care about the next few years. So it's a much different mindset of when you're gonna buy in or not.
And I think that's smart because, let's say the market does drop and you're on cash. Well, you automatically, by doing nothing, outperform the market. You
That is
outperform the
true.
market by literally doing nothing. And then you have time
Yeah.
to catch up.
I mean, if I was even money so far this year, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of my competitors are down 38%,
Yeah.
right? I'm down 18. So the 40% that's exposed got creamed, but I tell my investors all the time they're going to hate me. I'm going to cut them in half at least twice out of the 5 years.
Then they're gonna see it, but
But
they
you're
can't
going
get
to
out. Take the
yeah,
ride.
but if I'm doing 100 to 300% on the good years and you get cut in half, you're still up big when I give you your money back.
Yeah.
So that's the general strategy. I basically take the volatility off the table by just dollar cost averaging in. And, I just don't like buying it for around the price that a miner's making it. I'm
I agree with
patient.
that.
So I think I can get a better discount in the next 6 months, and I have 5 years to get a return. So,
It's coming.
I'm playing calm. Um,
Emma, what about
unless
you
I
and your
see,
students? Are you guys up this year, down? What's going on?
Yeah. So far up, but we did give back, a good chunk this month, but still up
Okay.
pretty good. Yeah. Like the stock portfolio is down. The swing trade portfolio, that's down about 6% this year. The options portfolio is up like something ridiculous, 100 something percent at this
Heck
point.
yeah.
The options have been making up for a lot of those trades. The long portfolio is up, but that's also because I literally only have Tesla and Algorand, and everything else I'm out of the
Okay.
money, just waiting on the sidelines, pretty much. I don't think we're done yet, but we could be. I think there's like one big like little liquidation left, so hopefully I'll get a chance to deploy that. But I did buy UPS today.
Yeah.
Starting to slowly get back in some of the oversold names. So, but
Can
yeah, we're
people
also
can people invest with you, or they only invest alongside you?
um. So no, they don't like. I don't manage their money. I just share with them what I'm doing with my own capital, and then
Okay.
they can make their own decisions. But yeah, that was kind of one of the things a few years
So you
ago, and I was
you've
like,
no LPs. I can't give you $10,000 to put into your
no,
fund or anything.
I
Okay.
don't want. I don't know how JT do it, but I don't want anybody's
It
to put.
sounds stressful. He's got a lot of accountants, around the
I
world doing
know.
doing his
That was
books.
the thing because this was a 5 or 6 years ago. I was about to open my
Yeah.
hedge fund. I was actually in the same mastermind that you mentioned, JT, a while ago.
Oh,
Black
cool.
card, baby.
When they started, when they launched, I think originally. So I was in that. I was about to open the fund. I did all the paperwork, did all the regulations, whole model. Then I would attend all these networking events, and all the people that I met, the all only talk was all about like raising money. The next event
Mm.
we'll go, we'll raise this money, that money. Whereas me, I'm like more of a chart nerd. Like I enjoy actually the process of doing the trades. I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm an introvert, so I don't really enjoy the going to events, meeting people, kissing a lot of frogs, as they say, right? Raising the money. So that kind of is why I chose not to do it because I was like, am I buying myself more work? Because then I have to do investor reports and
You
do
can
all
focus
that.
more on what you like to do, the actual coaching and stuff like that, and less
Yeah. So I
on
was like,
the
if I
running the
do a
books.
mastermind, I do with my own money. And
Yeah.
once the call is done, it's done. Like there's nothing else I need to do after I'm done trading. So that was the decision. But then, I'm capping myself too. There's only so far I could go with my own capital, whereas with other people's capital, you can go much further. So again, it's a trade-off. It's a personality type, I think, issue for me more than anything.
Well, it sounds like a lot
Yeah.
going on with your
It's
mastermind. That's an exciting way to, get more money and invest more as you grow.
Yeah, and we kind of make investment decisions together. We actually invest in a few startups. There's one which went public, JNVR. Look at the stock, crazy. So JNVR,
JNVR.
yeah, that was a startup angel investment that we did in the mastermind a few years ago. And yeah, the stock, we got IPO'd. The stock we got about maybe 8 or 7, no, I think $10 a share, and it went up to like $80 a share just a couple days ago.
Heck
So
yeah.
we do a lot of like startup investing and stuff in the mastermind.
This last month is up 1,100%.
Yeah, I wish I held it all the way though. I sold it at like
Wow.
$40 or $50 a share, which was still a 5x.
But that was the right chart decision, I'm guessing. It's like, all right, well, we're up 10x.
But
Let's take some risk off here.
I think that was more like I usually have a plan that if I invest in angel investment, if it IPOs, like that's my exit. So I don't care how much higher it
Okay.
goes after that, because
That
then it
makes
becomes like a
sense.
stock trade. Where angel investment is like I get a move, pop IPO move, get out, call it quits.
yeah.
Are you doing a lot of angel investing or any other places that you're, parking your funds?
Not at the moment, no. I think right now the valuations are just across the board crazy, and a lot of the investments that I luckily chose not to invest in were all disrupted by AI. Half of them are gone bankrupt. I would say out of the 25 angel investments that I made, 5 of them went public, and the rest of them all went to zero. Right? But the 5 that did IPO, then you
So
mentioned,
usually that pays for itself, though. I mean, 5 IPOs out of 25, that's pretty good.
yeah, 5 of them. I think only 3 of them performed really well after IPO. A bunch of them
Okay.
got done. Like there was another one, JTAI was the name of the company.
JTAI. He's on the show right now.
That's the ticker
Right.
symbol, JTAI. So they IPO'd, and the stock is literally worth nothing. So that was so there's a lot of those too. Or some of them, you'll buy into them, they'll IPO, they're up like 20,000%, but you have a lockup for like a year. You can't
Oh,
sell it.
yeah.
By the time the lockup expires, it's like back down to nothing. So there's a
Are you
lot of
guys are you
that.
guys pooling your money to invest in any of the Anthropic or Open AIs of the world? Are you in any of those AI stuff
No,
privately?
sadly, no. My business partner was in SpaceX a while ago, so he's crushing it. But I didn't do that. I unfortunately missed it.
I saw one fund you can buy into called the Destiny 100 fund that if you want to play in the SpaceX market and some of those other, really hot private companies, they actually do track those. They buy their own
Oh,
shares in
nice.
them. Yeah. It's crazy volatile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the ticker?
I think we're
Let me see. It is DXYZ. It's called
DXYZ. All right.
it's called the
Destiny Tech.
Destiny Tech 100 if anyone's looking it up online.
The chart
I mean,
looks good.
I bought some around 30 and it went up to like, 50 or something, and then it, shot back down and back at 30 again.
I
So
like it. I think I might buy it. Put a stop loss under $24.
Yeah, if you look at the list of companies that they own, I mean, I think SpaceX is number one, and that's why I found it. I was researching how do you buy some SpaceX without putting 100K in some private fund and stuff like that. So,
Cool. Awesome. I know JT's got to run. I'm coming up to that.
all right, why don't we leave this? What's a bullish trend you want to tell everyone about that we should all be thinking about?
Bullish trend. I'm just gonna talk my book, Tesla and Algorand, because again, thinking about the future, it's like, okay, what do you want to be in? You want to be in blockchain. You want to have some of that real world exposure.
Yeah.
And you also want the robotics exposure. You want the full self-driving exposure. You want the energy exposure, because more and more energy is going to be needed by AI, right? So as
I love
scales,
it.
you can get energy. So I think what better than Tesla and Algorand? So I'm just gonna.
I love where your head is. The energy component. I also love Oklo, and they're doing micronuclear reactors, and Sam Altman is the head of their board, so I think that they're going to be plugged in any projects that are coming online, helping out OpenAI and stuff like that.
Nice, yeah.
Well, really awesome. I know you wanted to give everyone a copy of your book. How do people find your book?
Yeah, definitely. I think the best way to get in touch with me, most active on, I would say, Twitter and Instagram. My username on both of those is Delta90, DELTA99ETY. It's all spelled out. And then the book, I'd love to give your listeners a free copy. They could go to go.unmol, my name, unmol.net, and then they can grab a free copy of the book.
ANMOL, so everyone knows.
ANMOL.net, go.unmol.net.
Go Anmol.
And the trading stuff you could find on livetraders.com.
That's awesome, man. You've been a great resource telling everyone about your trading. I hope people can learn some of these skills. Start small, like you said, scale up, back trace your data, see how it worked. I think those are all really great things our listeners can take away.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for coming on Bullish and Beyond, and keep up all your bullish trades. Look forward to connecting with you further.
Thanks for having me. And
yeah.
You do couple calls on your
Let's
app.
do it. I'll keep everyone posted how it goes. Cheers, everyone.
All right.
See everybody.
Thank you.
Stay bullish.
Bulls. That's a wrap on today's episode of Bullish and Beyond. Remember, the market never sleeps, and neither should your ambitions. Whether it's stocks, crypto, or just leveling up in life, stay focused, stay bullish, and keep charging forward. Keep your energy high and your mindset bullish. This is Beery the Bull, your AI co-host, Brian the Mac Man, and JT Knows Things signing off. All content published by Bullish and Beyond, LLC reflects personal opinions only and is provided for informational purposes. Please conduct your own research and discuss with your accountant and/or financial advisor before making any financial decisions. The information presented should not be taken as financial advice. We are not financial advisors. Nothing you hear, see, or read in our content should be considered as any form of financial, investment, or legal advice, or a solicitation to buy or sell any assets, or to make any financial decisions.